honor to welcome and introduce the resource person of today's webinar on research methodology, Professor Dr. B. Johnson, sir. And I'm also happy in joining the webinar organized by the Postgraduate and Research Department of Commerce, Marthoma College, Chungatara. I am thankful to the whole webinar team led by Dr. Rajiv, the head of the department, and all the other members who are forming part of this webinar. Today's topic of discussion is research report writing. We know that the research, you have been attending this program for the last so many days, and many students, research scholars are attending the program. Anyway, at the outset, I would congratulate the department for conducting such a program because it gives an opening to the new researchers. Because when a person joins for a research, he will be facing a lot of difficulties and problems. And this kind of interaction is indeed a great help to the persons who are joining the research program, as well as those who are already joined the research program or those who are in the final stage of research, and is even very useful to those who have completed PhDs. See, today's topic, research report writing. Report is a major component of research. In spite of your success in all other aspects of research, for example, you have an excellent topic, you have brilliant hypothesis, well-designed study, most striking generalizations and finding, everything is okay, everything is excellent. But if your reporting fails to communicate it appropriately to others, the whole output of your research is said to be went in vain. This is the significance of report writing. You have to develop a good writing style for the effective communication of your findings to various beneficiaries and stakeholders. Because we all look at the report, the final result of the research that comes in the form of a report, that is its presentation, its style, everything is important. The ultimate purpose of a report is to make it simple. It should be in a lucid style so that everybody will be able to understand your findings, your generalizations. In it, there will be a lot of methodology, lot of statistics, all the things you have applied. But when it is reported, it is to take in a most understandable manner. To discuss this very relevant topic, we have an eminent academician and research guide in Kerala, as well as in India, Professor Dr. Johnson, sir, who is the professor of Department of Commerce and Management Studies, University of Calicut. Formerly, he was the head of the Department of the Commerce and Management Studies. I have association with Johnson, sir, since 2006, and he's one of my favorite teacher and as well as a researcher. His profile already, the welcome speaker has introduced his profile, so that I am not repeating all those things. Anyway, it is an accepted fact that he is an eminent scholar and researcher in commerce, and many students got benefited with his able guidance. And also he has adjudicated different PhD theses in different universities, and also served as the subject expert in different doctoral committees. All these services actually helped a number of students, researchers to find the best way of doing research. With these few words, I welcome and invite Professor Dr. Johnson, sir, to this program. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon to one and all of this research methodology webinar series. Good words are given by Dr. Anil Kumar about me. So I take this opportunity to congratulate and appreciate Marthoma College Chungatara for having organized a well-articulated topic of webinar series on how a research work can be scientifically carried out. This is the fifth one in this respect. You already completed the first lecture as the identification of the research problem. Again, you have completed the statistical methods. Again, you are having one more session on the analysis part. And the fourth technical session was related to the literature survey. And this is the fifth session. In fact, as far as a PhD investigation is concerned, this can be considered as the end result of the investigation. Because readers and adjudicators who happen to see the research work is not having any opportunity to interact or discuss with the investigator. This is the only one medium of communication by which the readers or the adjudicators come to know about the research or carried out by the particular research scholar. If you're examining the statistics, we can find that, see, between 70 to 80% of the professionals engaged in different fields are earmarking their time for reading, writing, listening, or watching. And this research report will be very great help to the existing teachers, supervising teachers, research scholars, and other faculties who are interested in one way or other with respect to the research work. So as far as this particular topic is concerned, that is a research report writing. Every researcher need to have a clarity in his mind that this is the medium through which the investigator wants to communicate the findings or the inference of the study to the general public. Therefore, it is very, very important. You might have carried out the work very scientifically, systematically, but if you fail to report all these essential ingredients of a scientific research investigation, your research work may not be acknowledged, or your research work may not be appreciated, or your research work may be sometimes lead to subject to revision or say rejection. So these points are to be kept in mind by every research scholar. Hence, it is very, very important. So in this session, we will concentrate on the particular tips or what are the important points a research investigator has to keep in his mind while he makes the report to the audience or to the readers or to the research scholars. So in this direction, I would say that this particular topic selected by the authorities of this college is very, very significant, very, very important. Therefore, I am very happy in attending this particular program with respect to the full-fledged participation and attention of all the research scholars and supervisors across the country. Hello, can you see the slides, please? I see. Okay, let me try.
No, sir.
No, sir.
This is not responding. In fact, I don't know what is wrong with it. ഹലോ ഇത് നമുക്കിത് എക്സിബിറ്റ് ചെയ്യാൻ ഒക്കുന്നില്ല കേട്ടോ, കണക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ. കണക്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. പവർ പോയിന്റ് ഇട്ടിട്ട് നോർമലി ചെയ്യുന്നതാണെങ്കിൽ എനിക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നില്ല കേട്ടോ. Do one thing. I will proceed even without the PowerPoint. Later on, I will send you. Okay. Hello.
Okay, sir.
I will make the lecture. Later on, I may be able to send the PowerPoint. Otherwise, it may be interrupted. Okay.
Okay, sir. All right.
Yes. Okay. Yes, as I told you earlier, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. As I told you earlier, the research reporting is the last step involved in the investigation. Therefore, if the candidate is not familiarized with the different stages or steps involved in the execution of the research work, you may not fulfill the particular target of writing and presenting the report and submitting the same to the university for getting the required recognition. In other words, we may say that there are different stages of research work which you have undergone prior to this research report writing. And all these steps and procedures involved in the research work is in an iterative process. So a step-by-step procedure is involved. An iterative step means step 1 is completed, then step 2, like that. An iterative process is involved in the research work. That iterative process includes the problem identification of the research problem, literature review, setting the objectives and hypotheses for the study, deciding the research design, finalizing the sample design, data collection, data analysis and interpretation, and finally the report writing process. So if you are quite familiar with all these processes you are undergone, it will be very easy for you to report the same to the targeted audience. So in fact, we need to understand what the concept or term research report is. A research report is a completed study that reports an investigation, or it explores a problem. It identifies the questions to be addressed. It includes the data collected. It includes the analysis and interpretation carried out by the researcher. See, Oxford English Dictionary gives the definition of the term research report as: a report is a statement of the result of an investigation or of any matter on which information is required. A report may be of different types. To which category the research report comes in? I am not going to explain the different types of reports, but a research report can be considered as a technical report. It is considered as a technical report. I mean, it follows a scientific investigation or scientific system of procedures for the preparation of the research report. Or in other words, you may say that a research report provides answers to 3 basic questions as to why, how, and what. Why the research work is carried out? What is the significance of the research topic you are selected? What is the relevance or importance of the topic you are selected for the investigation? And how did you carry out the research work? The methodology and methods are adopted for the execution of the work from the initial stage till the ending stage is to be identified. This is called the how the research work is being carried out. And as a result of which, what is the outcome of the research? What is the end result of this investigation you are carried out? So a research report gives an idea of what the research topic was selected, why the research topic was selected, how the research work is carried out, and what are the end result of the research work. And these 3 questions of why, how, and what can be answered through a systematic presentation by following what is called the IMRD format. I means introduction, M means methods, R means results, and D means discussion. An IMRD format is followed for reporting the research work to the target audience. I means introduction. This introduction gives us to why the research work is carried out. M means methods, how the research work is carried out. What are the methods or techniques or methodology or process or the materials the investigator has used in the execution of this work. And R means results. The results of this work will be presented with the help of some information, some data that are subject to certain process, certain statistical devices or tools are being applied, and on account of which we are showing the result with the help of tables, graphs, and other figures. And last, D stands for the discussion as to what is the implication of the result shown by the investigation. What is the findings of the result shown by the research investigation? So we need to have a basic idea that research report is nothing other than finding answers to certain questions as to why the research work is carried out, how the research work is carried out, and what the research work gives us a result in a scientific way by means of following a systematic format of reporting the same called as IMRD. I for introduction, M for methods, R for results, and D for discussions. And once we are thorough as to these 3 questions, as to the components of a research investigation, the universities or the agencies who insist to support the research report is expected to follow a specific format of the research report. So the research report consists of 3 main parts or 3 main divisions or sections. If you go through any research investigation report, it will have 3 essential components as to one is the introductory part, or called prefatory part, or called preliminary section. The second is the theme of the work, or the body of the work, or the text of the work, or the content of the work. And this body or text or content or matter will be presented by following what is called the IMRD format. And the last part is the reference session or end session or the ending part. So the 3 basic components or sections or parts of a scientific research work include 1, the introductory part or prefatory items or preliminary section, 2, the body, the text or the content or the matter, or that is a core of the investigation, and third is the reference section or say end section. So one research scholar need to have a detailed understanding as to what are the items that is to be included under each of these items. What are the various items that are to be invariably included in the research work under introduction or under text or body or under the end matter. So let us see what are the important components that will come under the first one, introductory items. If you go through any PhD research work, you can find that it will have an introductory part or prefatory items or prefatory section. And this will have the important components as to 1, the title page, 2, certificate on plagiarism check, 3, declaration, 4, certificate, then 5, acknowledgements, 6, table of contents, 7, list of tables, 8, list of figures, 9, list of abbreviations, 10, glossary, and last 11, abstract. So the very essential ingredients of an introductory or prefatory session of a research report consists of the different elements as to title page, certificate on plagiarism check, declaration, certificate, acknowledgements, table of contents, list of tables, list of figures, list of abbreviations, glossary, and abstract. And the second part, we will come each one by one after explaining all the 3 important essential elements the first round. The second important component of a research work is the body part or the text or the content or the matter of the report. So this matter of the report will contain first as the introduction, then next review of literature, then design or methodology, then analysis of data, then results and discussion, and lastly summary and conclusion. So the second important component of the research report showing the body or matter or content or text of the research, that is a core and strength of the research work, will contain different components or different compartments. First is introduction. Second is review of literature. Third is design of the study or methodology of the study. Fourth one is analysis of data. Fifth one, results and discussion. And sixth one, summary and conclusion. So the last part of the research report is reference or end matter. This end matter will contain 2 basic headings. One is reference or bibliography, and the other is appendices. So let us see a detailed components of these 3 different sections of the investigation report or research report. First, the introductory section is also called as prefatory items or the starting item of a research work, in which the first and foremost item is title page. The title page shows what is the title of the report, name of the researcher, name of the institution where it is submitted, degree for which it is submitted, name of the supervisor, that is optional, name of the research center, month and year of submission. The title should indicate what the study is all about. A well-articulated title makes it clear to the reader to understand the nature of the topic. So, title page will be showing the basic information as to the title of the research work, name of the research scholar, name of the institution where it is submitted, degree for which it is submitted, name of the supervising teacher, the research center name, month and year of submission of this particular research work. Title indicate what the study is about. A good title will be make it clear to the readers that the nature of the topic. So I have given a specific title page, but unfortunately it is not able to see telecast. Later on I will send you, don't worry about that. Say for example, I am making a title page like the title of the topic is Capital Structure Analysis of Chemical Industry in India. This is the title of the topic, and this title should reflect what the content of the investigation is. It exactly gives what is the topic area, capital structure, what industry, chemical industry, which is the location, that is in India. And this is a thesis submitted to, say for example, the University of Baroda. That is the name of the degree for which it is submitted. And what is the degree? Name of the university to which it is submitted, University of Baroda. What is the degree for which it is submitted? For the award of Doctor of Philosophy in Commerce. And what is the name of the scholar? Say Amar Khan K. Supervising teacher, say Professor Amarchand D. Then the department or the place where it is submitted, Department of Commerce, University of Baroda, Baroda, November 2019. So the first and foremost page of the research work is title page, and inside also the same will be repeated. The purpose of this title is to understand the readers that this is the area of topic, this is the candidate who carried out the work, this is the university where it is being submitted, this is the degree for which the research work is being carried out, this is the name of the research scholar, and this is the department where it is submitted, and this is the year and month in which the thesis is being submitted. That is the first part of the introductory item as to title page. The second item coming under the introductory part is certificate on plagiarism check. Almost all the universities nowadays insist that the research work should have some freedom from plagiarism work, or there can have certain limitation of the plagiarism. So in order to ensure the plagiarism, the universities are insisting that plagiarism check is to be done compulsorily, and a certificate will be issued by the university which check the plagiarism, which contains the name of the scholar, title of the work, name of the supervising teacher, name of the research center, actual plagiarism identified in percentage, and acceptable maximum limit of percentage approved by the university. Also the software used for checking the plagiarism along with the date of plagiarism check. So a certificate on plagiarism check is to be appended next to the title page. It will contain information as to the name of the research scholar, university where the work is being carried out, title of the work, name of the scholar, name of the research center, then what is actual plagiarism identified and what is acceptable maximum limit, and what software is being used for making this plagiarism check, and which is the date of making the plagiarism check. Followed by that, the next prefatory item will be a declaration. Every university insists that the candidate who undergoes the research work has to give a certificate stating a declaration that this is a bona fide research work carried out by me under the guidance of a particular supervising teacher, and this particular work has not been submitted to any agencies for any recognition in the form of a degree, diploma, associateship, fellowship, or other similar titles earlier. It is a certificate. Declaration is a certificate. In fact, this is a declaration by the research scholar stating that this is the work carried out by me on such and such topic under the guidance of such and such a supervising teacher, and I hereby state that no part of the researcher has been submitted to any institutions earlier for getting any degree, diploma, association, fellowship, or any other recognition titles before. This is being followed by a certificate. That is, the declaration given by the candidate will be complete or full proof only when that is being certified by the research supervising teacher. So that will be the next content of the prefatory item, that is certificate. And he gives a certificate that this is the research scholar who has carried out a research work on such topic for the degree of PhD in, say, commerce. It's a record of the bona fide research work carried out by him under my guidance, and no part of the thesis has been submitted for any degree or diploma or title or association or recognition before. So the introductory items consist of, say, first title page, then certificate on plagiarism check, then declaration given by the research scholar, then certificate issued by the supervising teacher. And the next introductory part of the investigation report will be acknowledgements, maybe say called preface in the case of textbooks or forward in the case of textbooks, something like that. But in a PhD research thesis, it will be named as acknowledgement. And this is meant and this is meant for expressing the appreciation, gratitude to those persons who are helped or assisted the research worker in execution of this work. And this acknowledgement may be extended to family members, friends, colleagues, supervisors, or other major institutions or individuals who have helped the research scholar in one or other way. And followed by this acknowledgement, next is table of contents. Table of contents helps in locating the different components of the research report. What are the different chapters? What are the different headings? What are the different subheadings? With their corresponding pages will be shown at a glance. It will be easier for the readers to locate a particular chapter if that particular chapter title, subtitle is given with page numbers. This table of contents will usually indicate the chapter number, chapter title, headings, subheadings coming under each chapter along with their starting and ending page numbers. So for example, we want to have an idea as to what is the methodology, where it is recorded. If you go through that single page of table of contents, we can locate where the methodology part is given, in which chapter and which page number. Easy location or identification of the different chapters, different headings, and different subheadings served by the table of contents. And next to I have given a specimen table of contents also. Unfortunately, I am not able to show you. I will send you later on. And the next important prefatory items coming under the introductory part is list of tables. It bears the table numbers. It bears the title of the table, also page number. Since the result part of the investigation is shown with the help of tables, it is customary to disclose all the tables which are used in the research work bearing a number. That number will have the chapter number and the serial number of the table in that chapter. Say for example, table number 2.1. 2 denotes the chapter number, 1 denotes the serial number of the table in chapter 2. Table number 2.1. There need to have a title of the table also. Title of the table may be, say, capital structure of chemical industry for last 50 years, may be the title. Also, it should show what is the source from which this table is prepared. Sources from where the table is prepared is also expected to show here. That is the important components of listed tables. First, showing the table number, disclosing the chapter number and serial number of every chapter, title of the table, then the source of the table. The table will convey some results related to the investigation. As the investigation result is disclosed through tables, the content of a table will supplement, the content of a table will validate the research work we carried out. Therefore, list of tables is another important components of the introductory part. I've given a specimen list table also. I will send you later. I'm not repeating my inability to exhibit the same. And next component of the introductory part of the research investigation report is list of figures. It serves the very same purpose of as that of a list of tables, bearing a number of chapter and serial number of the chapter. Then it will have a title. Then it will have say some explanation also if required. Almost all the particulars that are disclosed by the list of tables will be given by the list of figures also. Then next is the list of abbreviations. So certain sentences or words can be put in short forms. So what are the words or sentences that we are put in short form is to be exhibited in the introductory parts in the next page. So it should be shown in alphabetical order. All the say short forms or abbreviations we used throughout the study need to be shown in alphabetical order. Say for example, APA. If you use the APA, so the explanation need to be given. Under the list of abbreviations, we write APA, give the expansion, American Psychological Association. Or if you are using the abbreviation EBIT, give the explanation as to earnings before interest and tax. Like that, it is a list of abbreviations. Next is glossary. So in textbook, we can see the glossary as the end part of the same. But in a research work, it will be shown as an introductory part. It comprises of a list of words and their meanings. The alphabetical listing of difficult words with the meaning to understand the content of the readers of the report is highly essential. So it is shown as glossary. For example, capitalization. The term capitalization is given with a meaning that it shows the total capital of the industry. Say that may be the glossary, or say capital structure. It may be shown as capital structure means the various components of capital consisting of equity or preference or debentures or bonds or some other say borrowings. So this is the glossary. The next one is the last part of the introductory session is abstract. It is nothing other than the summary of the research work carried out by the investigator. And abstract should indicate why the research work is carried out. It will have information as to the significance or importance or relevance of the research work carried out. Means an abstract will show a brief answer to the question as to why this investigation is carried out. It shows how the research work is being carried out. It gives answers to the methodology or methods used for the execution of the work. It shows what the result of the work is, what is the outcome, what is the findings of the study. It should also show what are the implications of the study, what are the practical uses or application or utility of the study to stakeholders at large. It also shows the conclusion of the research. So an abstract is nothing other than a summary which gives why the research work is carried out, how the research work is carried out, what the research findings are, and what the implications are the same, and what are the conclusions. Just by showing in single page, a research work is put in a very brief style, giving answers to the basic questions related to the investigation as to why, how, and what. Also showing the implications and conclusions of the study. Now we have completed the introductory part of the research work. So the introductory part of the research work are, as I told you earlier, since there is no say slides are there, I'm repeating the introductory part of the research work comprises of title page, certificate on plagiarism check, declaration by the scholar, certificate by the research supervising teacher, acknowledgements, table of contents, list of tables, list of figures, list of abbreviations, glossary, and abstract. And with respect to the numbering of page numbering of this particular introductory part, we have to remember that we have to follow what is called the Roman numbering system. Roman numbering system is adopted to disclose the introductory part of the research work. So that is the first part of the research investigation report. Then the second one is the body of the research work, text or content or matter of the research. So this text or content or matter of the research work includes different subheadings. As I told you, introduction will be there, review literature will be there, design or methodology study will be there, analysis of data will be there, results and discussion will be there, summary and conclusions will be there. So these are the important components of the second part of the research work, that is body or component or matter or content or the core, or that shows the last part, question answering as to what. As I told you, the research work gives answers to three basic questions as to why the research work is, how the research work is, and what the research work is. So this body or text or content will be giving answers to all these three parts through this session. It gives answers as to why the research work is carried out. The research work is being carried out is to be justified. A researcher has to show why the research work is carried out. What is its significance? What is its relevance? What is its importance? So that will be shown under the head as introduction. It introduces the topic of the study to readers in general, in a logical manner, interesting manner, in a useful manner. And how the introduction can be started? The introduction of any research report can be started by means of quotation, say, or by means of principles, or by means of theorem, or by means of stating models. So anybody can make use of any method as to start the introduction by making a quotations, by citing principles, or by citing theorems, or by means of citing models. And firstly, this introductory part will introduce the topic in general nature and then come to the specific area of the study. Not only this, this introduction will show what are the research questions, what are the objectives of the study, what are the hypotheses formulated, what are the assumptions you hold good while making the preparation of the thesis, what are the limitations you confronted while preparing the thesis, what are the operational definition of terms, and what are the form by which the work is being presented. So the introductory part will give an idea as to why the research work is selected, introduce the topic to the readers. This can be done in a very attractive manner by means of putting quotations or principles or theory or say modules. Introduce the topic for the first time in a general way, then come to narrow down the topic to a specific area. Then from that you come to the why this particular area of topic is relevant or significant or important. Then what are the attractions of this topic you study? What are the research questions I am going to given to deal with this particular topic? What are the objectives I have set in? What are the hypotheses I have formulated? And what are the assumptions which I hold good while making the particular research investigation? What are the limitations I have confronted? What are the operational definition of terms used here? And how I would make the presentation of this thesis. So assumptions. So you may not be able to know what are the assumptions that we hold good while preparing a research report or while carrying out a research investigation. There are three basic assumptions of any scientific research work. First is the sample represents the population. The sample is a true replica of the population. How we are making good this assumption that sample is representing the population or sample is a true replica of the population? So in order to convinced this that the sample is the true representative population, in your analysis part, usually you are exhibiting the descriptive statistics of the sample selected. Descriptive statistics of the sample selected means we are disclosing the profiles of the respondents. We are selected with respect to different demographic or social or economic variables in terms of statistical descriptive statistics like mean, standard deviation, median, or mode, or something like that. That's the first important assumption of the research work. Second is the data collection instrument has validity and is measuring the desired constructs. We are using an instrument for collecting the data. It may be an interview schedule, or maybe a survey method, it may be a questionnaire. So whether the results or the data we are collecting from the response are valid or correct or genuine, whether this result shown is right or not, depends on the reliability or correctness or trustworthiness of the data supplied by the respondents. So we assume that the data instrument used for the collection is valid. It measures what we actually intend to measure. And the last assumption is that respondents will give answer very truthfully. So there are three basic assumptions of any research work. The sample represents the population, the data collection instrument has validity and is measuring the desired constructs, and the third one, respondents will answer truthfully. So that is the first part of the second session, body or matter or content. And the second part of the session is review of literature. You are having an earlier section, therefore I am not going in detail. Still, I have to give in surface information as to review of literature is done to know the present status of the topic you study. It gives a solid base for the proposed research work. It will be helping the research scholar to familiarize the terms, status, concepts, meaning, variables, constructs, etc. related to the topic of study. It is based on this study we are finding out the research gap. So, review of earlier studies related to the topic of our study will be critically evaluated, by means of which we may be able to highlight that even though a number of research works were being carried out, there are certain areas, there are certain points wherein the previous research works were not being given attention. To fill that gap, we propose this particular research work. So, to identify the research gap is one of the major objectives of review of literature. And this review of literature will in fact help us to determine the research questions. So in introductory part, we have shown that objectives are to be shown, research questions are to be shown, hypotheses are to be formulated. How do we make the research questions? Research questions will be made from the review of literature. Review of literature will be giving us the research questions, say, based only when we are making critical review of the literature. Critical review of the literature means we have to identify why that previous study was being carried out, how that previous study was being carried out, and what result the previous study has been given. Therefore, every literature review should also answer the three basic questions of the research investigation as to why the research work, how the research work, and what the research work is. Every literature review should give an enlightenment of why the research work, why the earlier literature, how that literature or study was carried out, and what are the findings or implications of the study. By means of having an idea of these three and questions answers, then only we may be able to find out the gap. The correct identification of the gap is possible. the correct formation of the research question is possible only when we are making the review of the literature very critically in the sense that you have to go very thorough reading. Scientific reading is required with respect to the relevance, with respect to the methodology, and with respect to the results, and with respect to findings and implications. Only by means of having a critical analysis of why, how, and what, we may be able to identify the research gap or research questions. So the intention of review of literature is to give a present status of the topic you study, gives the base of the proposed study we intend to make. It gives a basic idea as to the terms or terminologies or concepts or variables or constructs which are related to the topic you study. It gives specific area on which we are going to carry out the research work. Also help us in designing what are the research work questions wherein we try to find out answers through this particular research work. And the third important components coming under the second session, body part, is design of the study or methodology of the study. So this particular design or methodology study gives answers to how the work is carried out, the methods, the process, the materials, the design, or the methodology we are used for executing the research. What methodology we are adopted for carrying out this work? What are the sources of data used for the study? Whether you are adopted population study or census study or sample study, what is a sampling procedure you are adopted? What are the instruments and method used for collection of data? What about the design of the instrument for collection of data? Describe and measure the reliability, validity, and normality of the data. And what are the statistical techniques and what are the statistical treatment made in the particular research? So this part, this design or methodology of the investigation will be giving answers to the questions as to how the investigation is carried out. What process, what methods, what materials, what methodology, what design adopted in the execution of the study will be described here. So we should be very, very clear. This is the major area wherein the adjudicators will concentrate. How the work is carried out. They should not have any false or mistake information in this methodology part. And we have to design the questionnaire. We have to design the interview schedule. There we are expected to measure what is the reliability of the data, what is the normality of the data, and what is the validity of the data. Reliability of the data means what is the extent to which we can depend on the opinion or survey collected from the respondents. If you are approaching the very same respondents for a second time, are we able to get the very same information we collected first? This is called reliability. And this reliability needs to be measured. The reliability of every construct used in the study is to be explained very clearly in the methodology part. And usually this reliability is measured by means of showing what is called the reliability analysis through what is called a Cronbach alpha value. The Cronbach alpha value shows the reliability which varies from 0 to 1. If the constructs or the statements we prepared under this particular instrument has the minimum Cronbach alpha value 0.7 or more, we can proceed. Otherwise, it is not reliable. So reliability is to be tested. Validity of the methodology we are adopted is also be tested. We have to test what is the face validity, what is the constructive validity, what is the criterion validity. So validity means what we intend to measure is actually measured or not. How can we ensure this validity? Validity cannot be quantitatively measured. Validity can be measured by means of consulting with experts. Validity can be measured with the help of consulting experts who are supposed to have the authorities with respect to the area of our topic. It's a content validity. We are consulting experts of outside the field. Face validity. Say, if you are making the, say, instrument, that is data collection instrument, interview schedule, or questionnaire, will be putting certain statements. So, and there may be 5 or 6 or 7 constructs. There may be different statements coming under each constructs. So, if that particular statements put under each construct satisfy the content we intend to measure, we may say that there is face validity is there. There is content validity is there. And also we have to ensure what is called the criterion validity also. Once we make a questionnaire in collecting the data, we should be able to relate the findings of the study collected through the questionnaire with the earlier studies or previous studies. It's called a criterion validity. Or in other words, we should be able to establish a relationship with existing theorems or models or some other principles. There need not have always. There can have certain relationship, there can have certain differences, there can have certain modifications. Anyhow, this criterion validity will be helping us to say whether the statements we are used for the collection of this particular data are related to the existing theorem or models or principles, or we are deviated. If deviation is why, that will be seen later on. So design the instrument. And also this methodology will say as to what are the statistical tools we are used to for the study. What are the treatment of that statistical tools used? So statistical tools or techniques we used may be, see, you know, the quantitative techniques as to it may be parametric test or non-parametric test. So whether we can apply parametric test for the treatment of this data collected is to be decided on the basis of normality. If the data we collected is graphically represented, if it's in the form of a normal distribution, we may say that it is normal. Then only we will be justified in applying what is called a parametric test like the t-test or z-test or f-test. But if the data is represented in a graph, it may not be in the shape of a normal distribution. It may be, say, what is called a Poisson distribution or some other distribution, binomial distribution, something like that. There we are not justified in applying the parametric test. There we can apply only non-parametric tests like high-score tests, etc., etc. So this second part of the particular body or content reveals the important stages or steps or materials or procedures or process or methodology or design we are adopted for the execution of the study. We should be sound. It should be clear. There should not have any ambiguity as to the what sample size you are adopted or followed. Good number of studies used to say that we are followed probability sampling. But if the probability sampling stated is not followed critically, then there may be a lot of questions and queries on the part of the adjudicators or readers as to how did you follow this particular probability sampling in the situation of having definite population or infinite population, or the data are not statistically normal. Like that, a number of questions or queries can be there. Therefore, the most important part where the research scholar has to give emphasis is the how part, the methodology part, or the process part, or the material parts, or what is called the methods part. Again, another important component coming under the body part is analysis of data. So analysis of data means as we are collected the data, it is subject to certain statistical treatments and tools. The result of the data collected can be presented or exhibited with the help of tables and figures. Appropriate tables and figures can be used for presenting the result. So this part shows the result. Say IMRD format follows that. I for introduction, why the research, M for methods, how the research methodology part, R results. Results of the analysis are shown in the form of tables and figures and graphs. It needs to have a proper title, proper, say, number. Then again, the source from where these tables are being made, that shows the analysis part, shows the results. The last is the results and discussions. So it is very, very important. This is the core and strength of your research investigation report. It is through this results and discussion we validate the hypothesis formulated. We validate the theorems proposed. We validate the models proposed. It is through here we are establishing finding of the research work with the previous works. It is in this session we are establishing the similarities of our investigation with the previous literature review. It is in this section we are pinpointing the differences of our result with that of the previous studies we reviewed. It is in this section where we are indicating what are the possible reasons for the similarities or differences of the previous studies. And if reasons are cited, then only we can say that our study is crystal clear. So results and discussion conveys the strength and core or the base of the research work. Good number of research in commerce and management are not relating the outcome or result or findings of the study with that of the literature we are quoted. This is because we are not making the literature view scientifically, critically, judicially, rationally, systematically or scientifically. A scientific literature review will be giving an insight to the research scholar as to what methodology adopted in that particular literature review. Why the research work was carried out? What was the result? So while we examining or explaining the result from the analysis table, we are discussing as to what are the differences we are found from this analysis from the previous studies I have cited. What are the similarities which I could find from this investigation from the previous studies we are carried out? So very, very important. This relationship of the present research outcomes with the previous studies alone can give what are the implications of your study. The implications of your study can be established only when you make the assumption that, say, the theorem was being formulated. We underline through the discussion that through the analysis we found that we hold good the theorem we proposed, or through the discussion we hold good the particular research model we have proposed, or through this particular discussion and analysis it is found that the findings of the such and such studies are right or not right. It is through this discussion we may be able to suggest certain modifications or variations on the existing literature, existing theorem or models or principles. So that is the core of the research work. So this particular results and discussion give answers as to the what part. What? So research investigation gives answers to 3 questions as to why, that is disclosed by introduction, how, that is shown by the methodology or design or materials or methods or process, and what, that is being disclosed by results and discussion. Here you should be very, very clear. You need to have clarity that you are expected to generalize, you are expected to give specific discussion as to what are the points of your study newly created from the previous studies. What are the new points you are emerged newly, or what are the different points you are come across apart from the result of the previous works. So there you will be justified only when you are relating the study with the previous one. Then the second part, last of the second part, body part, gives the summary and conclusions. Summary and conclusions. And this summary and conclusions are 2 parts. One is called the conclusions and second is called a recommendation for further investigation. Conclusion should indicate the introduction, significance, results of analysis and implications. That means it will be made very briefly as to why the work was, how the work was, what the work was. And by means of relating the outcome of our researcher with the help of results and discussion, we are correlating with the previous studies and try to mention this is the implications of our present study. So conclusion can also be recorded very systematically by means of writing introduction, significance and results of analysis. But if you go through the thesis, it is very difficult to find out the introduction or significance. It is shown only the summary of findings. Summary of findings alone is shown here. Conclusions are expected to show by introduction, significance and results and analysis, followed by implications of the study also. And last, it will show a recommendation for further investigation or further topic of study. Why? Because I have carried out this particular investigation based on these assumptions, but I had to make compromise with certain limitations. Therefore, I make further topic or research to other researchers who can overcome the limitations of my study. That is why we are giving recommendation for further investigation. So the second part of the body of the research investigation includes first introduction that gives answers to the why questions. Then it gives literature review that it justifies why the particular topic or research is justified by the review of literature. Okay, and this review literature is used for making our study more relevant or appropriate or contributing something new, or see validating the available models or theorems or practice. It is done through review literature. Again, we are giving the answer to the question as to how, through the design or methods or methodology or process or materials used. And next, what the answer what is given with the help of analysis, and the findings or the discussion will be shown by results and discussions. And the last part is summary and conclusion. And then we come to the last session, that is a third session. A research investigation report is comprised of three major components, three major sessions as to prefatory items. We have seen introductory items. Then second is the body part. We have seen the different items, say like introduction, review of literature, again see what is called the analysis of data, results and discussion, etc. Now we come to the last part of the research investigation report, that is a reference session that will be having two parts, reference or bibliography, and second is appendices. And a reference or bibliography, list out all the sources of materials or documents or books or journals or articles or monographs or websites you are used for the study. You have to show all these under the bibliography or say reference. There should be a style of citing the reference or bibliography. It can be APA style, it can be MLA style, it can be Chicago manual style, it can be Harvard University manual style, etc. But usually in social science, that is in commerce and management, we are expected to follow what is called APA style, that is American Psychological Association. So the title can be reference or bibliography, but still there is difference between reference and bibliography. So a lot of the research scholars are having confusion as to what is the difference between reference and bibliography. See, reference means if you are quoted some content of a textbook or a journal or article or monograph or website and used it as a test in our research, then this is called a reference. But bibliography means we are making use of any document or resources or materials that might not be quoted in the test of our research, but we are making use of it. It's called bibliography. So the concept of bibliography is much wider than that of a reference. The next is the appendix or appendices. Usually we will be showing the interview schedule or what is called the additional tables prepared or additional data used, or say computations, etc., as appendices. So these are the important essential components of a research report. I'm summing up as to the important components of a research report are shown under three major heads: introductory part, then second body, and third summary and conclusion. So a scientific investigation will answer the questions as to what is the research problem identified. So this is being identified from the literature survey. Why the work is important? This is also highlighted through the literature survey. How did you carry out the investigation? This is being justified by means of explaining or narrating the methods or practices or materials or methodology or design you are followed in the execution of the work. What are your results? What are the implications of your results? What do you understand or what do you recommend for further studies? What are your results? What are the implications of the results? And what do you recommend for further studies? That will be answered by what is called the results and discussion part. So any research investigation report should be able to give clear answers as to what the research problem you identify, why the work is relevant, how do you carry out the work, what are your results, what are the implications of the results, what do you recommend for further studies on the basis of findings of the studies. And again, we can find that each of the item containing in the research report intend to convey some messages. For example, title page. Title page gives information as to what the report is about. Again, it's a table of contents. It gives a major section, headings and subsection headings with the page numbers. A purpose is served. Title page gives what the report is about. Table of contents gives the major section headings with the page numbers. Then what is abstract? Abstract gives a summary of the work. What is introduction reflecting? Why the research and what is being researched is given under introduction. Then background of the work, review of literature and operational definition. Then methodology, how did you done the work? Results, what did you find? Discussion, relevance of your research findings with other studies. Conclusions, what decisions you arrived at. Recommendations, what need to be done as a result of your findings. Bibliography, references you made. So by keeping in mind all these points, you have to write the research report by following certain characteristic features. Keep these points in your mind as to simplicity. You should not make use of jargon words. You should make use of simple and small sentences. Should not make use of difficult words. You should not lead the researcher to refer a dictionary for understanding a term used there. So that is the relevance of glossary even. Since the introductory part, glossary is shown. Why glossary is shown? When any difficult word or a maiden word is used for the first time, what is the meaning of the same is to be shown the thesis itself at the introductory part as glossary. Therefore, it shows that it should possess the characteristic features of simplicity. Simple words should be used. Complicated words should not be used. Complicated sentences should not be used. Too lengthy sentences should not be used. Then the most important one is there should be simplicity. Sorry, objectivity. Objectivity means a research scholar has to report what the work he has carried out, what the study he has executed. It should not be influenced by his personal preferences or bias. The researcher may have his own thinking. He is expected to report the outcome of the research he has carried out. This is called objectivity. If I am writing in my own preferences, apart from the findings I have emerged, this is called subjectivity. They should not have any subjectivity. They need to have objectivity only. Then there should be focus of the report. The focus means emphasis to the important information. emphasis to the research questions you are formulated, emphasis to the validation of the hypothesis you are formulated. There should be focus of the investigation report. It should be accurate. Accuracy should be there. Means doesn't mislead the researcher, should not confuse the researcher. There should be accurate and genuine and crystal clear information through this particular research. Then clarity. They should not have any ambiguity. Say with the clarity that this is the finding of the study. Therefore, we recommend such and such actions or activities to be undertaken by the concerned parties. Then conciseness means let's not waste readers' time. Then there are general tips to follow. Say, as I told you earlier, say 70 to 80% of the professionals or even ordinary people used to refer books or read or write or watch or listen books or articles or something like that. So therefore, what we are communicated through the research work should be genuine and factual, should be crystal clear. If you are, say, including, say, false information, that will be misleading the general public or the readers or the adjudicators. You may not serve the purpose of preparation of the project report. Again, you should be able to establish relation with the existing theorems or, say, what is called the models or concepts or, say, principles or hypothesis, something like that. As far as possible, try to avoid grammar mistakes. You should not use jargon words. You have to use headings and subheadings. So, for example, section 1. Subheading may be, say, section 1. Then put a bracket and put a small a. Again, there may be subsection. Say, in section 1, A is the subsection. Again, in subsection, small Roman 1. So, in this way, you may be successful in communicating the research work you have carried out. Now, I am closing my presentation. This is the time for making the clarifying your doubts. You please come to the clarification of doubts. You can ask me the doubts related to the presentation. I know one of the handicaps of my presentation is that I was not able to, say, exhibit the tables. In fact, I will send the tables to your coordinator, Dr. Rajiv Thomas. Kindly ask the questions.
Thank you, Dr. B. Johnson, sir, for the excellent session. It was indeed fruitful and creative, sir. Now it's time for discussion. Respondents can unmute their audio and ask questions to our resource person.
Hello.
Hello.
May I ask the question now?
Yes, please.
Sir,
Please introduce.
okay. I am CSS Saral Hanmantrao, sir.
You are from?
From Vijayanagaram, Maharaja College, Faculty of Statistics. So I got a doubt.
Yeah.
Sir, recently I did a problem.
There is an echo. An echo problem is there.
Hello.
I think an echo problem is there. Okay. Yes.
Hello. May I proceed? I got the correlation coefficient between price and demand as negative, which is true because both are in the opposite way. But while doing problem, I got the correlation coefficient value as minus 0.7 in one problem and minus 0.2 in one problem. How do we interpret the result? How do we write?
Okay. So interpretation means what the result you have observed from the analysis is to be stated. That interpretation may sometimes lead to the agreement with the existing rules or principles or theorem, or it may sometimes need to have a modification of the existing theorem. This may be, you know that, say, exceptional goods. There may be inverse relation, that of the demand and price theorem. That may be due to that. Your study may be related to that part. You must be aware of whether the data you are collected is contradictory to the general rules or regulations or theorem, or holding the existing theorem or rules, it is up to you, the research scholar, to decide whether you have selected exceptional goods or common goods or luxury goods, or whether you have selected the exceptional customer, routine customer, or something like that. Anyhow, I would like to clarify you that your interpretation, your discussion should relate to only the result you are shown through the tables. There may be mistake in the analysis you carried out. So it is high time to go through the computations you made and make the corrections. Once you ensure that the calculations are right, there are no more mistakes, you can proceed.
So here the calculations are right, sir. Calculations are right, sir. But how can we distinguish between the values in two cases? There is a negative correlation between those two cases. How do we distinguish between those two?
So that means one negative correlation means there is no association. High difference is there. High differentiation means other association means that two variables depends on what are the considered for the analysis.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Another question raised by Jigyasa Sharma.
Yeah.
How to determine the sample size if one has to study certain population groups like urban poor?
So better. Okay. We are writing the research report after completing the whole work. It's a methodology part. Whether you are expected to justify the number of samples you have selected based on the definite population or inferior population. There are lots of handbook of research guides as to how the sample size can be determined in definite population or infinite population. And again, you can determine that sample size above the required size, or should not be below that sample size. Anyhow, equations are available. You just refer the guide or research guides. So without identifying this particular sample size, how can you proceed for the further analysis? Therefore, before you are proceeding for the data collection, at the time of making the pilot study also, by considering the significance or level and the reliability of data required, you determine the sample size scientifically by adopting or by following any of the formula that is commonly available. Okay,
sir. Another question by Rega. Sir, which is a good method for reporting literature review? Chronological order or alphabetical order? And whether the reviews should be numbered?
Okay, so I think we are having an exclusive technical session on research review. But I am of the opinion that the reporting of literature depends on what is the style of bibliography or references you are expected to make use of. So in social science, commerce management, economics, etc., comes under the discipline of this particular social science. It is expected to follow a style where you can justify the use of chronological order or alphabetical order. Say, in literature review, usually we will be showing in chronological order. Usually it will showing chronological order. But the corresponding reference or bibliography will be shown in alphabetical order. Okay.
Okay, sir. Another question by Lobmudra Das. Sir, as you said, three basic assumptions. Lobmudra Das.
Basic assumptions. Okay. Yes. Okay.
As you said, three basic example sample tool.
Yes. One CSR Hanamant Rao, can you please mute your mic? Okay.
Oh, sorry, sir. Sorry.
Yes, okay.
Okay, sir.
Three assumptions. So
Three
usually
assumptions.
three basic assumptions are there. One is that the sample represents a population. This is a fundamental principle of sampling theory. So if you are selecting a sample, that should have the characteristic features of the entire population belongs to. And this can be made more clear if the population's structure or nature is examined. The population may be it may be heterogeneous, or it may not be heterogeneous, it may be homogeneous also. Based on the homogeneity, you can select any sample you like. Therefore, you can ensure that sample belongs to the population. But if if the population belongs to different group, different strata, different nature, different characteristics, then you should not select the sample without discrimination. You are expected to make stratified sampling. Based on the characteristic properties, features, and essentials of each group or section or strata, you have to select some sample from each section. Now, that particular sample selected from a particular group is a replica of the population it belongs to. So that is to be ensured. And this is being ensured by means of exhibiting the tables related to the description of descriptive status of the sample respondents you are selected. Then the second important assumption, can you say me what is a second important point? Yes, the instrument we are used to have the validity. Validity means the data we are collected will have the reliability or genuineness or authenticity of the data we are collected from the respondents. So how can be ensured? It can be ensured by means of putting statements under different constructs. So you have to ensure face validity is there, construct validity is there, content validity is there, criterion validity is there. So this criterion validity means the statements you are put in the particular questionnaire should be related to existing theorem or principles or practices. If the statements we put preferred is not related, you cannot say that your instrument is valid. It is your responsibility to ensure in consultation with the subject experts and persons supposed to have knowledge on the area of study. This can be used for ensuring this one. And what is the third important assumption? Can you please say?
Yes, sir. It is.
Respondent in introduction.
Yes. So this is a basic assumption. So we have to collect the correct data from the respondents. So this all depends on the technologies adopted by the investigators who are going to collect the data. So for example, if you are asking very difficult, indirect, ambiguous questions to the respondents, we cannot ensure the correct response. So take the respondents in a true spirit, convey the necessity or importance or relevance of this particular study, and say that the data you are provided will not be used for any other purposes. This is an academic purpose. Therefore, kindly give the correct information. This assumption is to be held good. Otherwise, we cannot proceed further. And tomorrow, I think you have a session on ethics in social science research, where all these things can be discussed in detail.
Thank you, sir. I have some confusion, sir. May I ask you, sir?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Sir, you said that in introduction, that means in chapter 1, we write about three basic assumptions, where we also analyze, write something about our sample to a respondent, and the same thing we also write in methodology. May we write it in 2 times in research report writing? Actually, this is my question, sir.
Can you please repeat once more?
In introduction part, we also give some data about our sample tool and some respondent, and the same thing also we write in our
Methods.
methodology.
No, that's not right.
Okay, sir.
So, a research report is to be prepared on the basis of IMRD format, where I means introduction, which gives answers to the why you have selected the topic. What is the relevance of the topic? What is the importance of this? Why do you consider as very relevant for this particular research work? You have to justify it. How can you justify it? Not by the methods you are followed here, but on the basis of the research gap you are identified, on the basis of the research questions you are created from the literature review, you are justified as it is relevant, important, and significant. So introduction will not give the methods, but the methods will be explained under the body part itself as to how the question answer will be coming under as how it is. So there you have to mention what is a methodology adopted, and you may have a little confusion as to, so I didn't mention anything as to how many chapters you can have. There is no hard and fast rule as to the number of chapters. It can have 6 chapters, 7 chapters, or 5 chapters. Or if 4 chapters are there, there can have 4 chapters for the analysis besides the introductory part or say research methodology, something like that. Or you can make only single chapter of analysis giving answers to all the 4 research questions or objectives you are created. It all depends on, it is up to you. I think you have a little confusion as to the chapters. Okay. They can have an exclusive chapter showing the methods or process or materials or what is called the methodology or the design. Can be chapter 3 methodology. It depends. And analysis can be of different chapters. Even though I have shown that all the 3 important essential components of research work, the second one, the body part, the content, the matter, the message, it can be shown in any number of theses, any number of chapters you like. It's all up to the convenience. So how many pages should be there? Universities used to insist that the maximum number of pages of a thesis should be 350 or 300 or 400. Standard universities used to insist. You can decide how many chapters. You need not give a separate chapter for the analysis. Better you can give the results and the discussions. Or you can give individual chapters exclusively fulfilling the research objectives of individually. It's all up to you to decide. If you have any confusion, I will clarify it.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Another question raised by Arun Dev. Where to include the industrial profile in the report?
Okay, yes. So usually this industrial profile reports can show just before the analysis you begin, or sometimes it may be shown after the literature review also. And there are certain theses wherein the first chapter itself the profile may be given. Anyhow, it will be better to show just before the analysis will begin. Then only we can ensure that the assumptions hold good are right. Doesn't matter the pages. Maybe a single single table, single page, something like that.
Sir, a few more questions are raised in chat box.
Yes, definitely. I couldn't see.
Okay,
please
sir. Okay, sir. In case of scientific research, where we can put on research hypothesis in introductory part and justification of hypothesis in which portion of the body by Rabin does.
Okay. Yes. So it all depends on the number of chapters you are intending to provide the research work. If you are making the entire research result in one chapter, analysis and interpretation, or results and discussion, you are expected to show all this in this particular chapter itself. Otherwise, if you are giving different chapters to fulfill the individual objectives, you identify what are the hypotheses you are formulated related to each objective. And there may be lot of confusions as to how the hypothesis can be created. Whether a hypothesis can be created on the basis of objectives, whether a hypothesis can be created on the basis of literature review, or what is the time of making the hypothesis, whether it is after completion of the statistical analysis, or whether it is before starting the static analysis. Lot of issues are there. So the most scientific method of making hypothesis is make the literature review, make the objectives, then make the hypothesis. If you are relating this particular statistical tools in hypothesis, it should not be based on the analysis you have carried out, but it should be on the basis of the analysis carried out by the researchers in their previous studies. There may be utter confusion in the minds of certain research scholars as to say the formation of hypothesis after the analysis, or that is not right. If any hypothesis seems to be there in the thesis relating the statistical tools, that should come from the literature review made. And you can make it clear only when you are very thorough as to the results and discussions and statistical tools adopted in the literature review, where you quoted here. Okay.
Okay, sir. A question raised by Anupi Matthew. Sir, where could the research model be explained along with the conceptual framework or with the methodology?
So it can be in different ways. One, you can make the research model after the conceptual framework. Again, you can make the research model and get it validated only at the end. At the end of making the analysis, you can validate the research model created. Or it can be shown in the introductory part itself. It all depends on what is the structure or design the research scholar is following in reporting the particular content. Other question,
okay,
please.
Sir. Okay, sir. Sir, a question raised by Manu MS. In my research study, fund allocation and utilization of a rural development program in district-wise is collected. I don't want to show forecasting. Then how it can show in analysis part?
All these things can be decided by the research scholar. I am an outsider. I am not an expert in this one. If I am the research scholar of this topic, I need to understand in depth as to the different aspects of the topic. It will be nice to ask this question to a research guide. Okay.
Okay, sir.
I'm not discouraging you, but I'm telling you it's a fact. So because
Another question.
what is my suggestion may not be acceptable to you. You have your own methodology. So I am not an expert of suggesting a methodology of your topic. It is up to you to decide what is the apt methodology for your topic of study. That is why I'm not telling the correct answer. Okay.
Okay, sir. Another question, sir. In case of social sciences, what kinds of techniques can we use for qualitative data analysis by Rabindra's?
Oh, so it would be better to meet a statistical consult. I am not an expert in this. Okay.
Okay.
So you can say how the may be able to give the answer. How you are making the instrument for collecting the data will be deciding by it. If you are getting the opinion or views of the respondents on a 5-point scale or 7-point scale, you can make the constructs and collect the data and enter the data in the spaces and other techniques, whereby you are getting the inferences by getting the average or something like that. You can apply any type of statistical tools. It doesn't mean that it's a qualitative or not. A qualitative study is being quantifiably stated by means of using the measurement scale. There you can make it quantitative, numerically. How do you give the overall opinion of the respondents with respect to views? It is quantified by means of asking the questions. So there is no difference as to qualitative or quantitative. Qualitative phenomena can be converted into quantitative with the help of the instrument you framed. Okay.
Okay, sir. Now it's time for vote of thanks. I would like to invite.
No other questions?
Sir, can I ask one question, sir?
Definitely ask this.
Okay, sir. The question is, in your research report.
Please introduce, sir.
Sir, my name is Arun Dev, research
Yes,
scholar from Mahatma Gandhi University.
Which university?
Mahatma Gandhi University.
Oh, MG University.
Yes, sir. Sir, the question is, in our research report, should we mention bibliography and reference separately? Usually, the report contains only one heading, reference.
Okay. Yes. Only one header reference.
Yes.
See, there were different styles prevailing earlier. That's at the end of every chapter. What are the references used will be shown at the end of the chapters as works cited or references. Now the global practice is that the entire references or bibliography is shown as the end matter only at the end matter. If you go through the different theses, you can find that instead of using the term bibliography, reference is used. Again, bibliography is used. Again, in certain situations, select reference and bibliography is also used. It all depends on how do you consider. That is why I told you the basic difference between the reference and bibliography. The terminology bibliography is wider than that of reference. Reference is used when you quoted some sentences or some findings as such from any of the books or journals or articles or monographs or any source. You have to show as a reference because a quotation, a quote is given there. That is the reference. But if you are using a methodology book, say research methodology by C.R. Kothari, you might not have quoted any of the sentences from that thesis, but you have referred the thesis for the preparation of the investigation. So it is not nice to include as reference. Scientifically, it should be treated as bibliography. And again, see, if you come to the bibliography also, there are different subdivisions. Works cited is there, selected works is there, annotative works is there, different styles are there coming under bibliography itself. But we need not go in detail. You have to show all these under either it is better to use the terminology bibliography because bibliography can include reference also, as the concept of bibliography includes both reference and bibliography. Okay. Quoted matter can be used, cannot be used also.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, one more question.
Yes.
Quoting the reference after each chapter, is it an old method?
Now it is not followed. If you see the international thesis or national level thesis, it is better to avoid the reference under each chapter. You can show only at the end. And again, one more thing. You can justify the usage of select reference and bibliography because in the literature review, you might have quoted some results or analysis or statements. So that is reference. So better you can include reference also at the end. Okay. Better avoid that reference at the end of every chapter.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
If any of our participants have questions to ask to our resource person, please use this time to ask your question by unmute your microphone.